morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12 Ounce Sports Network. We're on Zingo TV channel 761. You can catch us on our Facebook Live page, Twitter Live, Twitch, our website, our YouTube channel. We're on worldwide. And yours truly, the captain, with you in the chair until 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Want to thank Mitch Bernstein for that awesome intro at the end of his show. He got to talk to the punky QB, Nate McMahon, in the first half of our double dip tonight here on Tuesday night. So great lineup for him as well. Hey, we got a great lineup coming up tonight, too. We're going to talk a lot of ACHA hockey in the first hour of our show. Coming up in about, I'd say 6 minutes from now, we're going to talk to Tyler Cataline from Central Michigan's D3 squad in the ACHA. Ranked 6th in the country. They start their conference tournament. They are, 3 weeks from national tournament time. And it's going to be great to talk to Tyler. He used to coach them at one point, got the itch to come back, and he's got himself quite a team right now in the ACHA in Division III. So Tyler's going to join us in about 5 minutes. Then at the bottom of the hour, Bob Brinkworth's going to come on the show. He's been on before on my podcast. He is the head coach of a D2 powerhouse. That's Florida Gulf Coast State. Florida Gulf Coast University. They are ranked right now number 1 in the Southeast region of Division II, and one of the top teams in the country in Division II, as they usually are. And they're coming off a huge weekend sweep of the number 2 team in the East region, Northeastern. Those two teams are powerhouses every year. They get in the national tournament. They make deep runs, usually to the Final Four, if not the championship game. I believe Northeastern won it all in 2019, or actually it was Gulf Coast that beat Northeastern in 2019 to win the whole thing. So Bob's going to join us at the bottom of the hour, see what's going on in their world as they get ready for the national tournament. It all starts in St. Louis on March 10th. So we're looking at, 25 days until the national tournament begins. Boy, I'm going to be there. I'm going to give you live updates here on 12 Ounce Sports, and we're really looking forward to that. So a lot to talk about there. And then at the top of the hour, we're going to talk to Steve Finnemore, old friend of the show, is coming back on tonight. The NBA trade deadline last Thursday. The big trade, of course, James Harden and Ben Simmons. 2 head cases flip-flopping, going Philadelphia and New Jersey, respectively, or Brooklyn, I should say. We're going to get Steve's thoughts on that. Some of the other trades that went down. So, it's going to be very interesting. And we'll talk Super Bowl as well coming up on the show tonight. But right now, let's get to the Captain Lou Extravaganza guest line. We're going to welcome in an old friend of the show. It's been a while since we've had him on. I know he's been knee-deep getting his team ready for the stretch run. Tyler Cataline from Central Michigan stopping by. Tyler, how are you, my friend?
Good. How are you, Lou?
I'm good. Hey, great start to the season. I know you had a kind of a rough weekend last weekend, but first of all, before we get into that, how's it feel to be behind the bench after a little bit of a break?
Oh, I'm loving it. I mean, leaving here 4 years ago was pretty tough, and and I've always still stayed in contact with the team and continued to follow them throughout the years that I was gone. And coming back, being asked to come back, it was an easy choice for me. I mean, I know that they've got a lot of talent here. I mean, I got 3 kids that are from my hometown that are playing up here now, and and plus I got Brendan Martin, the last player that I coached from when I was here before, was still here. So no, it was an easy choice to come back, and I'm glad I made it.
Well, I know you and I had talked at the end of the tournament last year when Central, they made it to the last day. It came down, or not the last day, but of pool play, and you were thinking that Brendan might not be back, and you get one more year with them. And they had a good run last year. I know it was kind of shortened because of COVID, but they were able to get a little bit of that Nationals experience. Tell us a little bit about how maybe they use that to come into this year.
Yeah, I mean, the guys are motivated. I mean, they know they didn't have the best showing last year at Nationals, and they're happy to play a whole season this year too. And we've had an up and down year this year. I mean, first semester we did great, and the second semester's been, like a roller coaster right now. So, no, our guys are motivated. We're excited to start MCHC playoffs next weekend, and hopefully get to St. Louis here in a few weeks.
We'll talk about that tournament first, the MCHC tournament. We both know we've watched it, we've been a part of it, and and I think I'm biased, but the proof's in the pudding, Tyler. If that's not the toughest Division III conference in the country in ACHA D3, I don't know what is.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, every weekend, playing league play, any team can win at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be, ranked, 16th or number one, and all of a sudden, that 16th team could end up beating the number one team. You just never know in the MCHC. It's such a tough conference and so many good teams, and it's fun to be a part of. We really enjoy it, and every team here in the MCHC, would say the same thing. We've always had a good showing at nationals, and so yeah, we're all excited. I've talked to a few coaches throughout the league, recently, and we're all excited to see what us Michigan teams can do at nationals.
Well, before we, I know that the pedigree of the league again with Hope and you guys in Michigan and Lawrence Tech has really improved. Adrian College as well. It's just the teams you could go down the list. Michigan State, they all have the pedigree. So I'm really looking forward to keeping up with your tournament this weekend with the MCHC.
Yeah, we got Adrian Friday. We're the first game in our league. Friday night at 5:50 against Adrian, and we split with them earlier this year. We beat them 5-1 one game, and they beat us at our home rink the next day. So, like I said earlier, any team can win at any moment, and hopefully we walk out of here with a W on Friday and can play Saturday.
Well, I look at your team, Tyler. We're joined by Tyler Catalon, by the way. He is the head coach of the Central Michigan Division III ACHA men's team, currently ranked 6th in the country. Very, very balanced scoring. It looks like you can get 3 or 4 lines out there, and you can rely on them. From the top, Isaac Gibbs, Owen Campbell, Andrew Porzanik, on down. Jacobson Andry, who we saw in the Nationals last year as well. Charlie Hayes. A lot of balance on there offensively, and also you're getting your defenders putting the puck in the net as well.
Yeah. I roll, for the first 2.5 periods, depending on what's going on in the game, I roll 4 lines, and it shows. With all them getting points. I really don't consider any of my lines a 1, 2, 3, or 4th line. I consider them all. I consider everybody a first liner, and they've all showed that they're all capable of being a number 1 line. So, and just like D, I don't have a 1, 2, or 3 pairing. They're all equal, and everyone's been playing great for me. From our top scorer to our goalies. Everyone's been chipping in and getting us the wins as a team.
Has there been any 1 or 2 guys that have really stood out, maybe surprised you a little bit since the beginning of the year, maybe improved more than somebody else?
I really didn't know what to expect from our freshman class this year. I knew 2 of them because Owen Campbell and Jacob Kosnick. I've had them as players since they were 8 years old, so I knew what they could do, but I didn't know what they could do at the college level, and I didn't know Isaac Gibbs at all or Aiden, and they've all really stepped up, and they don't look like freshmen out there. They all look like they've been in the league for a few years now, and that's something that we can build off of in the future, having such a good freshman and sophomore class that are putting up points right now. It's going to look really good in the future for us.
And your netminder, you got Thomas Rolfe. He seems like he's been playing forever. You're able to get him this year as a transfer from Lawrence Tech, I believe. He's solid. He's solid. That's a great netminder to have for you to come back to head coaching.
Yeah, Rolfe he stole a few games for us this year. He has played outstanding. I think this past week we we played 6 games in 9 days. I mean, I think he faced over 300 shots in those 6 games. And I mean, he's been a wall for us. He's been absolutely amazing to have, and I'm glad he's still here. I mean, I don't know what we're going to do next year, honestly. I mean, we've been spoiled with him in that, the last few years. So we're going to miss seeing him go after the season.
Then you got Colin Smith too. I mean,
Yeah.
as a backup, all he's done is 2 shutouts. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's impressive. I look at these stats, Tyler. As a team, you're at 925 for a save percentage. Holy cow, that's impressive.
Yeah, our goalies have. I mean, like I said, they've won us a lot of games and kept us in a lot of games, and we're happy to have them wearing the Flying C on their jerseys.
No, I know you said you've kind of tried to keep up with the guys over the 4 years that you've been away. Has anything changed since you last coached? I mean, the style of the game, or is it anything different than when you coached 4 years ago?
I mean, there's some things have changed. I think it's a lot faster. Honestly, I mean, it's more of a finesse game. Back when I was here before, it was, whoever plays the most physical game is going to usually probably end up winning the game. So, but no, this year's been a lot of finesse, and the passing. I mean, every team's well coached.
Yeah.
And everyone's adapted to the new style of hockey. I mean, it's not really a big physical game right anymore. It's more of finesse, and it's been a little different for me to kind of adapt to it. Because 4 years ago, I mean, I had the Carr brothers, Gleason, everybody like that. We're gonna beat you guys by wearing you guys down, and now it's like I said, it's a lot of finesse out there.
I see you've got a familiar face as an assistant, Dalton Sutherland. How's he been?
He's been amazing. I begged him to move back from Florida to come help me coach.
How did you do that? How'd you get him to come up here?
I have no clue how I pulled that one off, honestly. But he's been a blessing. He's kind of taken over the forwards and special teams, which has been great. I mean, he's just so smart when it comes to hockey. He knows the game. He knows our players. He knows what each player can do. Even before he got here, we already had I think 2 or 3 games into the season, and even after those games, he would call me and be like, "Hey, why don't you try this? Because I know what this guy can do with this other guy." And he's helped big time. I mean, I've learned a lot from him this year too. I mean, with him, I mean, he's went to Russia and played. I mean, he's a good person to have around and feed off of.
Yeah, I've had a chance to talk to him a couple of times after games and at nationals and whatnot. Very good human being, a very classy kid. You're very fortunate to have him.
Yes, I am. Yeah, I totally agree. He's a great kid, and hopefully I can convince him to not go back to Florida and stay here a few more years with me.
Well, if we get weather like we're going to get in the next couple of days, man, you're really going to have a hard time trying to convince him to stay.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, it's different this year, Tyler. The way the tournament's set up, you don't have to worry about regionals. That's got to make it a little bit easier for you. Although, I know the kids see the rankings. They're human. They're normal. I mean, what's is it more difficult keeping them maybe a little more, I don't know, in the moment than making sure they're not looking too far ahead to the rankings, thinking, oh, we're 6th, we can maybe skate a little bit to get down to St. Louis?
Yeah, I mean, I think not having regionals, I think that's the extra 2 weeks that we don't have to put wear and tear on our legs.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I mean, it's just like regionals, it's just like MCHC playoffs. I mean, it's a grind, and it wears teams down. But I mean, you get to nationals, you're gonna play the top teams. So, I mean, it's kind of a win-lose situation with regionals. I mean, it's nice to play them because if you win it, you're guaranteed to go to nationals.
Yeah.
But it, like I said, I mean, that's 2 weeks where we don't have to, you know, take a chance of getting anybody injured or, anything like that. So I, I'm not a big fan of regionals.
Well, I don't know a
Personally,
whole
I
lot of
mean,
coaches that are, to be honest with you.
right.
You're in the same boat.
Yeah, I like the computer rankings and stuff like that. I really like that they changed it to just it doesn't matter what region you're in. It's just going to be the top 16 teams, which that's what you want at nationals. It's the top 16 teams. I mean, you don't want any people getting blown out or anything like that when these teams are spending a lot of money to go to wherever nationals are even at. And so I mean, luckily last year, I mean, it was in Michigan last year, which was nice.
Right. You talk about that. I want to bring that up. You'll know when are the last computer rankings, Tyler, so you'll know for sure if you're going or not.
I believe the last ranking is Sunday.
Okay.
So
that
these MCHC games do count towards
Okay.
rankings that I've been told.
So the whole tournament is going to be just this weekend. I know with regionals in the past they've drawn it out, so it's been like 2 or 3 weeks, or a couple of weeks between the MCHC. So it's all going to be done by Sunday, then, correct?
Just the first round.
Okay.
So, like our division will play Friday and Saturday. Same with the West.
Oh, okay.
And they'll play their 2 games, and then next weekend the Final 4 teams will play.
And where's that going to be at?
Grand Rapids, I believe.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, but only these 2 games this weekend count towards rankings.
Because the reason I asked that, and again, for those that may not know, you guys find out Sunday that you're going. You got 2 weeks, and then not only do you practice, but this is where the fundraising comes in. And your teams have to come up with the fundraising indication to be able to go. And that's where I tip my hat off to you guys, Tyler. It is just unbelievable how resourceful and how quick you guys have to do that to get ready to cover this trip, because the universities don't pay it.
Right.
And I commend you for it.
Yeah, we've made sure it was in our budget. I mean, because it's about a 10-hour bus ride to St. Louis. So, I mean, if we do make it, we plan on leaving Monday. Have a few days to, hang out and kind of go over a few things. Hopefully, get a practice in while we're down there, halfway down there, or something like that. Get our legs moving and just kind of enjoy the moment. I mean, we got 9 seniors that this is going to be their last time doing this. So, I want all the guys to enjoy what we're doing. And yeah, they give you 2 weeks to get everything booked, and I mean, it's a lot of work to get everything done within 14 days.
Well, Tyler, I'm going to let you go because I know you got practice coming up here in about 8 minutes. I appreciate you coming on tonight, talking a little hockey with me. Good luck this weekend against Adrian, and keep it going, and everything works out. I look forward to seeing you down in St. Louis in about, 3 weeks, whatever it is. So keep it up. And again, thanks again for coming on.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. It's always good to talk to you, Luke.
All right, Tyler, thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye. Tyler Cataline, head coach of Central Michigan's Division III ACHA squad, as they look to nail down a ticket to the national tournament coming up here. March 10th through the 15th, I believe, is when they play, or it's either 10th, 15th, 11th through the 16th. It coincides with the D1 tournament this year, about the same time. How it works in St. Louis, all 5 divisions are going to be there. Kind of like how it was in Dallas a couple of years ago. I guess it was 3 years ago now. 2020 canceled because of COVID. Last year, they were in separate cities, separate venues. This year, everybody's going to be in St. Louis, and it starts on March 10th with the opening of D1 and D3. And as we mentioned, in the past, with Division III and Division II, they have regional play. And it used to be where you had the top 2 seeds got automatic berths in each region, and then you had 3 through 10 duke it out for the last 2 spots. And I'll tell you, some of those regional games were amazing in those regional tournaments being here in the Michigan area, I have had a chance to broadcast and go to a lot of those divisional matchups. And I got to tell you, some of these games were unbelievable. Like 2020, for example, right before they canceled canceled the tournament because of COVID. Central Michigan was playing Michigan State. They were down 2-0 in the first period, came back and won 3-2 in overtime to go to nationals. And I always bring this up, and I'll bring it up again one more time. 2017, the year that Aquinas won the national tournament, they had to beat Lawrence Tech 1-0 in the second round of the regionals. They didn't even have an automatic berth to get in. And so they ended up third in their pool play down in Columbus. So that's, as Tyler mentioned, that's not anything they have to worry about now. We'll get the top 16 teams with the computer rankings coming out. The final rankings are coming out Sunday, according to Tyler. Wow, there's going to be some teams right on the edge to see if they can make it. And it's going to be very interesting to see. The state of Michigan in D3 has had a stranglehold. The MCHC, I think in 2019, Sioux Canada had it. They won. And then 2021, Hope College won it again. So the Michigan Collegiate Hockey Conference has had a stranglehold on Division III for the last 12 years. Michigan, in particular, has had as the champion, been coming out of in D3 for the last, 10 or 11 years. So really looking forward to see who represents them. We'll take a look at the rankings real quick in Division III in the men. Hope College, number 1, the defending national champs from last year, undefeated, 23-0. Grand Valley, 21-3 is second. Then you've got Florida Gulf Coast in Division III. They're 11-3-1. They're third in the country. Then you've got Arkansas, who was the state national finalist last year against Hope College, 21-2. Then Notre Dame is fifth. Central Michigan sixth. New Mexico again. Looks like they're going to be going to the nationals. They're seventh, 22-2. Lawrence Tech, watch out for them. They're sneaky good. I tell you, 18-6-2. They're ranked eighth right now. Michigan making a climb back. They lost a heartbreaker in the semifinals last year in overtime at the national tournament to Hope College. They're ranked ninth right now, 9-6-2 their record. Then you've got Dartmouth College undefeated. They're ranked 10th. Trine at 11. Miami University at 12. Nebraska, they're always at nationals, it seems like every year they make the trip. They're 13th. They're sneaky good. Iowa State, that university is putting together quite a program in men's and women's hockey. D1, D2, D3. Iowa State ranked 14th, and Sacred Heart undefeated 11-0-1 at 15. So there you go. It's coming. We talk about it a lot on the show. 70 teams are going to be down there in 5 divisions, men's, women's, and 3 in the men's, 2 in the women's. A lot of great hockey coming up here in St. Louis. If you're in the area between the 10th and the 20th, check it out down at St. Louis, Chesterfield's where it's at. I'll be there. If you see me at the tournaments, come and say hi. I really appreciate just, the feedback and everything. It's always great to talk to the fans. Always love going down there, talking to the coaches, the players. And it's just a great brand of hockey. So, check it out. You'll really enjoy it. We're going to talk to Bob Brinkworth coming up here in about 5 minutes from Florida Gulf Coast, the Division II team that they've been, as I mentioned at the top, they're always right up there near the top of the rankings. They're in the national tournament every year. Just unbelievably the success that they've had. So we're going to talk to Bob here shortly. And then coming up at the top of the hour, we mentioned Steve Finnemore is going to join us. We're going to talk NBA and college basketball with him. You talk about national tournaments. A month from this week is going to be March Madness starting already. So we'll get his feel on who he thinks are some of the teams to watch in college basketball, maybe a sleeper or two. And we'll talk a little Michigan State since it's in our backyard. And, of course, we're going to talk NBA trade deadline, what's up with the Lakers, some of the players that have been traded that may have been disappointments, what's up with the Pistons, you name it. Once we get going, man, we could talk forever on basketball. So I love having Steve on. He's going to join us at 9. We will get to Super Bowl talk. Congratulations to Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. Boy, it took another comeback. to win this one. They win 23-20 over Cincinnati. Good game. Was it a great game? I don't know. You hear some of the historians and whatnot say it wasn't a very good game. If it keeps me involved into the fourth quarter and I got to lose sleep because I got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning for work, it was a good game. So I'm taking it as a good game. I thought it was very good myself. Matt Stafford again, 3 drives for victories, comeback drives for victories. I heard an interesting stat. And for those of you that love Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford, 3 game-winning drives in 1 year. That's more than Aaron Rodgers had in the playoffs in 13 years. So congratulations to Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, Aaron Donald. They all get that Super Bowl. They win. Now the big question is Sean McVay and Aaron Donald going to retire? What's next for the Rams? What's going on in football? We're going to talk all about that in the last half hour of the show, as we'll put football to rest at least for a few weeks till the combine. That's the great thing about football in the NFL is it's a year-round thing now. They've got the right formula. They're going to keep you interested in that league all year round. And they're definitely the number 1 league right now. Basketball had their chance. Baseball, we'll talk a little bit about the lockout too if we got time in the last half hour of the show. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll speak with Bob Brinkworth. He is the head coach of Florida Gulf Coast. He is their Division II head coach, as they are currently number 1 in the Southeast region, one of the top teams in the country. So looking forward to talking to Bob. But first, you're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-ounce sports platform and networks and Zingo TV channel 761.
Twelve-ounce Sports has a new home for betting. BetUS.com is the official place to place your bets and support 12-ounce sports. All you have to do is go to BetUS.com and type in the promo code 120Z and you'll instantly get a deposit bonus. This is America's favorite sportsbook. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza. We're live here on 12-ounce Sports and Zingo TV channel 761. Don't forget, you can see us on our live platforms. We're on Facebook Live, Twitter Live, Twitch, our YouTube channel, and, of course, right on our website, 12ouncesportsradio.com. Again, thanks to Tyler Cataline for the Central Michigan University Division III head coach for joining us in the first portion of our show. Good luck to them as they go into their conference tournament and on their drive to St. Louis. And right now, let's get back to our Captain Lou Extravaganza guest line, as I'm really pleased to bring back a head coach of, we're going to go from the cold weather and the impending storm to the warm weather of Florida and bring in Bob Brinkworth, the head coach of Florida Gulf Coast, the Division II squad. Bob, thanks for joining us. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine. Yeah, we've had a little bit of a cool spell in the morning, but nothing to complain about.
Well, Bob, I appreciate you coming on. It's fun talking hockey with you. I know the last couple of years has been very trying for everybody, especially for the kids that weren't able to go to nationals a couple of years ago. Talk a little bit about the adjustment, getting back to playing a full season of hockey, how that's been for you down there.
Well, it was very disappointing 2 years ago when they March 10th announcement that the tournament had been canceled, and then last year they reduced the number of games that you had to play to qualify, and there was only, I think, somewhere around 18% of the teams that had enough games in to qualify for the national tournament. Fortunately, things turned pretty normal in Florida. I would say the middle of January on, we had we played 12 games that spring. Normally we'd probably play 16, but they moved the tournament back into middle of April, and we were able to participate in it. And but with only a couple of months, we probably the team we lost to, we had beaten them the two previous times, and but goaltending and penalties, it's just can change the game around. So disappointing, but this year we've had a great run at the end of the season. We've won 20 in a row, and looking forward to the tournament in St. Louis.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different this year. Back to going everybody at the same venue, like we had down in Dallas a few years back. How do you prefer that, Bob? Do you like it the way they're doing it now with the 5 teams, or did you look kind of like last year where you guys went out to North Dakota?
Well, I think they had terrific crowds for their games. Unfortunately, we never got to the next game we would have played. We would have played Mary University, and so when it was hosted, it rotated around the 4 different regions. There was always significant attendance for the home team and any rivalries that had been created. And I know we had 1,100 people last year we hosted it, which was 2012. And I think they started working with the NHL teams probably in 2015, 16, I believe. And anyways, playing on a Tuesday night when all the teams have left, and having 50 fans in the building loses a little bit of the feel. But being a championship game, and it was broadcast and televised, but certainly it's always easier as an athlete to be playing with a live crowd. And we rotated around with Davenport University, with San Jose State, and had terrific crowds for those tournaments. And I think they're trying to, move back more to that model, and have you don't want a team just because they're hosting get an entry into the tournament, but certainly if they do make it, the attendance is going to be pretty significant.
And during the season, you and I have talked before in the past. It's still, I think, a lot of folks, especially up here, don't realize how many folks you get for your home games down there. And you've got a really strong a following, not just for you guys, but for the other teams in Florida and in Georgia.
Well, we average probably 500 people for our games, and we had the team that was ranked ahead of us the second last weekend, and then the team that was number 2 in the Northeast the last weekend. So we did a little better than the 500. The atmosphere was great. The games were good, and they really meant something as far as the rankings go. And that always makes for a better game.
Oh, it definitely does. And you mentioned that you've won 20 in a row, which is great. What's what's been your secret, Bob? What's been the key to that streak?
Well, I think the tougher the team, the more the goaltending and defense. And I think the certainly at the level that we're playing, the only way you open up the ice is by using the defense to help control the puck and allow the forwards to get in better position and get skating. So it's this year we've had 6 very quality defensemen. We had 2 hurt this last 2 weekends ago, but they'll be okay for nationals. So defense and goaltending, the tougher the games, I think the more their importance shows up.
And I look at your stat sheet and I look at the balance. I mean, whenever you see a team that's got success, Bob, you can go right down the list. And I talked with Tyler in the last half hour. It looks like to me you can roll out 4 lines just about whenever you want, and you're getting offensive production out of your defense as well.
Yes, it's every year one of the things for a coach is to not always play the system you'd like to play, but what's best suited with the personnel that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I don't even want to call them the third and fourth lines because they contribute and compete, and so it just keeps the energy up throughout the game. And I know the Peter Laviolette, the coach of Washington, was just down this last weekend, and it was our senior night. His son is a senior this year, and
Okay.
I get a chance to talk to him about his situation, and he mentioned Pittsburgh as one of the teams, the harder teams that he plays against, and he didn't mention Crosby or Malkin. He mentioned that they compete all over the ice. Every puck is contested, and the time and space is limited. And that's the team that he mentioned that they have the toughest time with. And so it was interesting because that's with 4 lines and keeping the pressure up. We do try and limit the time and space all over the ice.
We're speaking with Bob Brinkworth. He's the head coach of Florida Gulf Coast. Their Division II team that is heading to nationals in St. Louis. A great weekend this past weekend. You mentioned playing Northeastern. You played Liberty. One of the keys to that I noticed in the scores too was your goaltending. And I look at your stats. And again, we could talk about this. Your goals against is 188 for the year, and your save percentage is 933. I mean, and you've got 2 goaltenders that you can rely on, like a 1A and a 1B. I mean, that's going to be so handy for you coming up to pool play in St. Louis.
It's we had for 5 or 6 years in a row, we had 3 goaltenders, and then one would bubble up at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty well played most of the games in the national tournament, which is a hard one to win because five games back to back. And this year we've had 2 goaltenders, and we have rotated. They have earned the right to play regardless if there's a shutout the night before. We've rotated them, and so it hasn't put pressure on them, and they've been fresh when they played. And we don't have a 1A and a 1B. It's we have 2 number ones at this point.
Fair enough. I didn't mean to slight either one of them. I never know how to phrase that, so I'll take that back. 2 co-number ones. How's that?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I just it's a great situation for a coach. I mean, it's coaches like to, if somebody's on a hot streak and they go until they lose, but when you're fresh, and they're both very active goaltenders, and so I think it's benefited their play, and it's certainly benefited our team.
You talk about the regional play, and you're able to, be in the top 2 to get a bye. You're the only division right now that's going to the regional play because you've got the most teams. And I look at these regions, Bob, and this division too, this countrywide is stacked, and it's just going to make for one heck of a tournament come in about 3 weeks.
Well, it's interesting because we played the number one team in the Central Lindenwood. We played Mass Amherst, number one out Northeast, and we got to the point after 16 games, we were ranked fourth in the country, but we were third in the Southeast, and it was. Regionals for us coming out of Florida is really awkward this time of year because it's peak season, and the only way we get to Columbus is we have to fly probably into Cincinnati or Cleveland. And so fortunately, the last 2 weekends, it was in our hands. We had to really win all 4 of those games, and we were able to do that. So it's always with regionals. It's you don't know you're going to get out of there if you're in the third or fourth spot, but for the teams that are 5, 6, 9, 10, it's an opportunity if they've had a late run to to get to the national tournament. So I think that the model for D2 with the 2 auto bids per region has worked great. I mean, the intensity at the end, and we're really playing to whether we go to regionals or not. So
you now, because it's like you mentioned too with the regionals. It's like you said earlier with the national. You have one bad period. You take a couple penalties. And that could cost you nationals. And I don't know a coach that I don't know any coaches that would not like to have that bye.
Well, I think when you play the season should mean something too.
Yeah.
And it's and certainly with D3 being cut back on the number of teams, I think they've done a terrific job with having ranking national rankings, and the top 16 teams will be seeded into 4 pools, and they'll play pool play at the tournament. And there's an advantage, obviously, if you're 1, 2, 3, or 4. You're not maybe meeting one of the top teams in your pool, and so I just the Division 1 is quite different, and you're really only guaranteed one game, and that's anything can happen in one game with.
For sure. Do you? What do you do now until you get to St. Louis? What do the guys work on? Anything that they can kind of tighten up? Maybe I know you've had a good run, but is there anything, Bob, that you guys can do to, I don't know, maybe tweak a little bit, or you just keep doing what you're doing?
Our power play has not been as good as other years, and in the tougher teams and the low scoring games, the power play a lot of times is the difference. And so we've been working on that, trying to have 2 or 3 different looks with different groups. And I would say that's the area we probably need to improve in the most. And, that for some of the players, it's the first time in national tournament. The adrenaline is turned to their advantage, and others are, not as comfortable. So it's until you get into the tournament and get the feel of it. It's always easier to protect the lead than it is to come from behind.
Now, do you get to use this time maybe to do a little recruiting, or do you take a break? How does your schedule work now that you know that you don't have to come up to Columbus for the regionals, and you can kind of maybe take a little bit of a break, but not much? But what do you do during the 3 weeks off?
Well, we because we're in Florida, we get a lot of players from up north. We have usually limited to two players that skate with us in practice, and we get to know them. They get to know us, and so we've probably had 8 or 10 players out I would say the last month. And so just the conditioning. And we have 3 injuries that the month is really going to help with them recovering. And I don't think we'll have anybody missing when it comes the middle of March.
Well, Bob, I appreciate you taking time out tonight to be with us. It's the fun time of year. I know everybody says the first semester is the marathon, the second semester is the sprint, and now you've got that sprint heading towards St. Louis. And congratulations on a great run. I know your job's not finished yet. The road still goes to St. Louis, but congratulations to get there. And now good luck on trying to get to the finish line and bringing a championship home.
Okay. Well, thanks, Lou.
You're welcome, and I look forward to seeing you down in St. Louis in about 3 weeks. Thanks for coming on.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
You bet. Bob Brinkworth, the head coach of Florida Gulf Coast. Congratulations to them. It sounds like they got one of the top 2 seeds in the country, or in the Southeast region. So how it works with the Division II regionals, they're coming up not next weekend, but the weekend after. And the top 2 seeds in each region, they get a bye. They get to go right to St. Louis. And then it's 3 through 14 do battle. Yeah, if I got that. The next 12 teams, how's that sound? 3 through 14. They get to do battle in one of the 4 regional settings, if you will. And I'll see if I can bring those up. Now, these rankings were through last week. So, again, as Bob mentioned, they've beaten some quality teams. Obviously, they've beaten Liberty, and they've beaten Northeastern. Northeastern ranked number 2 going into last weekend in their regional. But 3 through 14 they get to go to the regional tournaments coming up next weekend. And the top 2 teams, or top 4 teams, I believe it is, in each region get a bye in the opening round. But it's single elimination. So that just means, it's like it's funny because to get to the Nationals, it's a Division I setting where in the regionals, it's one and done. It's single elimination. Some of these teams have to win 3 games in 3 days to punch their ticket to St. Louis. And as he mentioned, at the Division III level, we talked to Tyler, there are no more regional tournaments in Division III, so it's all based on the computer rankings. The top 16 go. Now, again, I've had the opportunity to watch some of these regional tournaments in D2. We here at 12 Ounce Sports, if you recall, brought you the 2020 Central Regional from Grand Valley over just outside of Grand Rapids. And there were some great tournaments. Davenport, I think, was a 9 seed, and they made it through in 3 games in 3 days. They qualified. Now, again, unfortunately, in 2020, COVID put an end to that tournament, but everything's a go for 2021. So, again, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a great tournament. They're going to start on the Monday, I believe the 14th or 15th is when they start up. Monday the 15th is when they start their tournament, and it goes Monday through Friday. So they got pool play for 3 days, and then they got the semifinals and the finals. So great hockey there as well. We talk about Division I. That is a single elimination tournament. The top 20 teams in Division I make it. And right now, it's really tight because they've got 8 auto bids for the conferences. Then they take 12 at-large bids. And I know we've got conference tournaments coming up. Aquinas, for example, is playing along with Indiana Tech, Michigan Dearborn, Lawrence Tech, and Davenport. They're all in the rankings on the top 25 for the spot for at least one auto bid. That is in the Wolverine Hoosier Athletic Conference. And there's some teams that are kind of right on the edge, Aquinas being one of them. I believe Michigan Dearborn's right on the edge. So it's there's a lot at stake coming up this next weekend yet to get into the national tournament. And then, as we mentioned, after that, you find out you're getting in either this weekend or whatnot. You've got 2 weeks to come up to get everything in order to go. And that's again the discipline that I love, and the just the dedication for these student athletes, because they're technically club, which means they don't get the funding from the university. They have to go get their own. They've got to get their own sponsorships. They got to do their own fundraising on top of going to school, making sure their grades are up, and making sure they go to practice and everything. So you talk about well-organized, well-disciplined young men and young women. That's what makes the ACHA what it is. And it's great to be a small part of it. I will be down there covering the Nationals again, doing play-by-play. I will give updates. I'll have them here on 12-ounce sports as well. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we've got Steve Finnemore scheduled to join us in about 6 minutes to talk some hoops as we get talking about March Madness on the basketball court. And also we're going to talk about the NBA trade deadline. And in the bottom of the hour, we'll get back to talking, wrapping up the football season, the NFL season, what's to look forward to in 2022 with the combine, possible free agency, what else is going on. And if we got time, we'll dive into the lockout situation in Major League Baseball. Pitchers and catchers were supposed to report yesterday and today. We all know that didn't happen. And when will they come? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. They're posturing again, and we'll see if it's good or bad. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-ounce sports platform and networks and Zingo TV channel 761.
Twelve Ounce Sports has a new home for betting. BetUS.com is the official place to place your bets and support 12 Ounce Sports. All you have to do is go to BetUS.com and type in the promo code 120OZE and you'll instantly get a deposit bonus. This is America's favorite sports book. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-ounce sports platform and networks. We're on Facebook Live, Twitter, Twitch, our YouTube channel, and, of course, you can catch us on our website, 12ouncesportsradio.com, Zingo TV channel 761. Thanks again to Bob Brinkworth for coming on, head coach of Florida Gulf Coast, the ACHA Men's Division II. They get ready now. They're on the road. Their ticket is punched. They're going to Dallas for the Nationals, to St. Louis for the Nationals. He mentioned the NHL cities trying to help out the ACHA. Next year's tournament's going to be outside of Boston. So they're kind of moving the venues around. St. Louis gets their turn this weekend. I think it's a great location, too. Right in the center of the United States. Teams don't have to travel cross-country like, you're going to see UNLV there in D1. Some of the Florida teams, the California teams, New Mexico, Northeastern, up in New Hampshire, those teams coming together. So it's a great location for it. Really excited for it. I'll be there. I'll be there in 2 weeks and 2 days. think that's right. Is that right? 3 weeks? I don't know. Whatever it is, March 10th, 3 weeks. Okay, there you go. 3 weeks. That's right. God, it'll be there before we know it. Seems like we were just talking about it back in September being 6 months out. So, wow. I just saw a score. We're going to have to ask Steve this. Last I saw, Michigan State was up. They lost on the road to Penn State. Big win for Penn State. Oh, boy. I don't know. It's just a topsy-turvy Big Ten right now in college basketball. So, again, want to thank Bob Brinkworth. Hey, before we go any further, again, you heard on the ad, BetUS, go to 12ouncesportsradio.com/BetUS. It'll take you right to their website. Now that football's over, that doesn't mean you can, if you've got that itch, you can still scratch it. They've got plenty of college basketball and pro games to bet on. Teasers, you name it. You've got March Madness coming up around the corner. You've got hockey. And if you've got that itch, you go there. Your first deposit, you get a 125% deposit match, which means you put $100 in, you get another $125 to bet with. But you got to put in the promo code 12OZ. It's that simple. You do that, you're in. You get $225 to bet with if you drop $100 in. That's free money. That is the no-brainer lock of the decade. So just keep that in mind. Well, let's get back to our Captain Lou Extravaganza guest line, and let's bring in a friend of the show, our basketball expert. And we just like to go back and forth talking little hoops. Steve Finnemore joining us. Steve, welcome again. How are you?
Captain Lou, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I really appreciate your positive comment about a basketball expert. I love it.
Oh, heck yeah. So I'm going to make you put that expert hat on right now. What the hell happened tonight? I saw Michigan State up when I came down to my little studio. They were ahead, and I just saw on the score, my in-laws were texting back and forth. I just figured, it was this normal Michigan State blabber, and all of a sudden I saw they lost. Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Lou, I got to be honest. I wasn't able to watch the game tonight because I'm trying to catch up on an outstanding series on Showtime called Your Honor.
Okay.
And I've been trying to catch up on it. And I think the Michigan State game was an early start, wasn't it? Wasn't it like a 6:30 start?
Yeah.
So I had some dinner tonight.
Okay.
And then I grabbed my laptop and I started watching the show. And then next thing I know, it's like 8 o'clock. I go, oh, gosh, I missed the game. So, yeah, I did see the score. And I'll tell you what, Lou, they're having a lot of problems, especially with their consistency. And the one thing that stands out to me, and I'll come right out and say it, there's zero leadership on that team at Michigan State right now. Zero.
And that just is, it's mind-boggling because they've always had somebody, in all the years we've been watching it, they've always had somebody step up. And that's something that my brothers-in-law both say, nobody is taking charge. And I find that mind-boggling.
You gotta have a point guard in college who's a leader and who brings people with him, makes them better. Everyone around them really cares about the team. The two guys they got now, Walker and Hogard, I'm not crazy about. One guy's a new guy; it's his first year, and the other guy, AJ Hogard, he's been around for a couple of years, but he's a former walk-on, and it's just not like the Denzel Valentine, Keith Appling, Cassius Winston days, and I think we've been spoiled, or Spartan fans have been spoiled. You need a leader to run Tom Izzo's offense.
Right, and he's just not getting it, and I agree. It's you watch him play the other night, and I know they played well against Indiana or the other day or whatever, but I noticed something in that game. They were chirping, and I just I don't know. I mean, maybe again. You hit a nail there. We've been spoiled with guys that just don't do that.
I mean, Lou, the point guard got thrown out of the game for 2 technical fouls.
Yeah.
AJ Hogard, he got thrown out of the game for taunting, unsportsmanlike conduct, or whatever they call it. And I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, when's the last time you saw a kid in college Get this ain't the NBA. You know,
Yeah.
get thrown out for taunting. He was clapping in the Indiana player's face, and I'm just saying, and it really upset Mike Woodson, the Indiana coach.
Yeah.
And to me, a Tom Izzo-led point guard, Michigan State just doesn't do something like that.
No, no, and I don't know. It's, oh boy, I think of Tom and I think, it's just, how passionate he is. You've been around him, you know him well. I mean, that's just got to be tearing his guts out.
Yeah, yeah, especially this time of year. Usually they get better as the season goes on, and then they thrive in the Big Ten tournament,
Yep.
and they usually win a game or two in the NCAA tournament. But last year losing to UCLA, which was a very good team.
Yeah.
But I don't see this team turning it around, making a run. I mean, I looked at the stats a little while ago, and I think Julius Marble was their leading scorer, if I'm not
Wow.
mistaken, and Malik Hall, who everyone talks about as being this breakout player, I think he scored 3 points tonight.
Are you serious? Wow. And
I'm
he had
pretty
a hell
sure
of a
that's what I
game
saw, yeah.
Saturday. Holy cow.
Yeah, but see,
Wow.
that's where my point is about
Yeah.
inconsistent. It's like teams like Gonzaga and Baylor and Purdue for the most part.
Yeah.
Duke, all these teams, they do it consistently, and they have solid performances from the usual suspects.
I don't mean to get you to come on and talk bad about teams, but it's
okay.
funny. I look at a team like Michigan, and they're kind of in the same boat. They're not getting
Yep,
the consistent guard play,
Yep.
and they go out and they just when you think things are going bad, they come out and hammer Purdue. Two thoughts
Yep.
on that real quick, Steve, is the inconsistent play, they come out and they win. And my other thought is, a team like Purdue is going to, right now, they're going to get everybody's best shot. And you can't do it every time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Lou. When Michigan beat them at
Yeah.
Chrysler, it was just 5 days before that Purdue beat them by 6,
Yeah.
82 to 76, and then Michigan comes out at Chrysler, scores 82 points, but they held Purdue to 58. It was a great defensive performance.
Uh-huh.
Michigan, I believe, made 12 threes that night against Purdue. Hunter Dickinson was fantastic. He had 22 points. And Eli Brooks had 18 that night. They played really well. Michigan, like you said, but they got those veterans, though. They got Dickinson and they got Eli Brooks, who can really carry them a little bit. But again, their point guard play, I'm not crazy about. And they're just going to have to find a way. And I think, like you said, Michigan and Michigan State are in the same boat right now. And we'll just have to see what happens down the stretch here.
Well, some of the teams that are doing good in the big, in college basketball, again, you've got the usual suspects, like you mentioned. We got Gonzaga back on top. But let's be honest. In my opinion, the surprise of the year has to be Auburn. I mean,
oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Number two, they were number one for a while. With all due respect to Charles Barkley, I don't think of Auburn as a basketball school. And they put it together. Bruce Pearl's done some magic there. We all know his reputation, but they're doing well in Auburn.
No, they are. I mean, he's got them playing. Walker Kessler, the big man, he's a transfer from North Carolina. He had a triple-double the other night. He had 12 block shots. Bruce Pearl, I'll tell you the one thing about him. People can say whatever they want about him, positive, negative. The one thing about Bruce Pearl's teams, they always play hard. They play with energy. They play defense. They're tough as nails. And that can take you a long way.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right. Auburn struggled over the last 25, 30 years in terms of NCAA tournament appearances and things like that. But right now, they're atop the SEC. They're second in the country. But, Lou, I got to tell you this. I don't self-promote, and I don't like patting myself on the back, but I'm pretty sure the last time you and I spoke, I think you had asked me, give me a team to watch out for, and I mentioned the University of Arizona.
You did. You did.
And Tommy Lloyd has done a great job.
Oh.
He's a longtime assistant at Gonzaga, and he's got the formula to build a culture, and he's done a tremendous job at Arizona. And I think they're third or fourth in the country right now, and they're playing really, really good basketball. But I tell you what, Lou, it's a season that's going to be a great tournament because I think there's 10 to 12 teams that can win the NCAA championship this year.
Oh, I agree. And, you did mention that, and my hat's off to you. My my double mocha latte is off to you because you did say watch out for Arizona, and I look at them and you know I'm happy because I want to see all the conferences relevant. You know, the Pac-10's been down for a
Yep.
long time.
Yep.
Football and basketball. You know, you've got them, you've got UCLA, and you know USC is playing well. But it's good to see them because they've been through a lot. Arizona has. They've had some negative light shed on them. You know, with old coaches in the past, and it's good to see them rise above that to get it. You know, in the top three.
Well, yeah, you got the three teams you mentioned. UCLA struggled a little bit lately, but I watched them play USC the other night.
Uh huh.
I watched UCLA play Arizona State, and you're right. The Pac, the Pac-12 is finally. Do you know when the last time a Pac-12 team won the national championship? You know when it is,
Oh wow.
or when it was?
Wasn't it like was it 2005? Or
It was 1997. It was
Oh,
Arizona.
that's right.
25 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, and a lot of I ran that by somebody over the weekend, and they couldn't believe that it's
Wow.
been 25 years since a Pac-12, and I think they were the Pac-10 at that time, actually.
I think you're right. That was before Arizona and Arizona State. Or no, it was. Yeah, you're right. It was the Pac-10.
Hey,
Wow.
listen, and I'm not going to give the Big Ten a free pass here. It's been 22 years since they've won a title too.
Are you? That's right. They've had so
They
many
haven't won.
chances.
They haven't won, right, since Michigan State, or
Yeah.
or was yep, because Maryland was in the ACC when they won.
Yep, that's right. You know, we've had Michigan State in the title game, Michigan a couple times. You know, it's fun. What was Michigan State? And I can always remember them in 09 when they got there at Ford Field. But you could
They got
tell.
hammered. They got hammered by North Carolina.
Oh, you could tell. I mean, didn't North Carolina come to Ford Field earlier that year in a regular season game and beat them almost as bad, or in the ACC Big Ten Challenge or something? Yeah, that was, man, boy, North Carolina was loaded that year, weren't they?
They sure were. They sure were.
We'll get back to college basketball because I want to kind of pick your brain on that a little later on. But you know, one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on was the trade deadline last week, and
Yep.
that monster trade with Brooklyn and with Philadelphia. And you know, I look at it and I think, you know, and I'm not, Steve, I'm not making light of mental health issues. I'm really not. But you know, it's like, and I don't know how to really politely say this. It's almost like one head case for another. And you know, I know James Harden didn't like it in Brooklyn, but this is two teams that he quit on, absolutely quit on, in my opinion. Now, and I hope that they both do good because it's good for the NBA. But I'm leery about it right now to see how good they're going to do after maybe this year.
Yeah, you kind of onto something there about both players, and Lou, I've been studying the game for a long time.
Yes, you have.
And I look at basketball players, and I say there's a couple of different types of players. There's winners, and there's scorers, and there's other types of players. But, James Harden, to me, is a big-time scorer, as we all know.
Yep.
I just don't think he's a winner. And what I mean by that is, do the people around him, do they get along with him? Can they fit in with him? Can he make those guys better? Look, he drops a lot of assists. I get that. I look at his numbers. But Russell Westbrook also drops a lot of numbers.
Yeah.
And people kill him. They just kill him. And to me, I'm a little worried about Ben Simmons because he needs the ball in his hands.
Yes.
He cannot play off the ball. And Kyrie Irving is another guy. With him and Kevin Durant, I got to be honest, I don't know how it's going to work. The Nets finally won a game, and the one kid, Seth Curry, who I think is really going to help the Nets, I just don't see this working out in terms of the expectations to win a championship for the Nets. Right now, I think the East is so tough now. Miami, Milwaukee, and what about Cleveland? Cleveland's 13 games over 500 right now. And so I tell you, Lou, I don't know how this is going to work out. I don't know, what Harden's going to bring to the Sixers. Is he going to disrupt them? Is he going to make guys better around him? because sometimes you bring somebody in, man, and they rock the boat and things don't work out. And I'll tell you what, Doc Rivers, in my eyes, and I don't care what anybody says, I don't know how he beat out Rudy Tomjanovich for
Yeah.
the top 15 coaches of all time. I don't know if you saw that list the other day.
Yeah, you
But
mentioned
to
it.
me, Doc Rivers, and I'll say it, Doc Rivers is an overrated coach. I'll say that forever. And he gets all these accolades. He better put up or shut up right now with this team because they're built, to go pretty far. And if he underachieves and they don't go very far, it's going to be on his shoulders.
Well, I want to ask you a question about Philadelphia, and I know
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is having
Yeah.
a great year. Okay,
Great player. Great player.
But I look back at when they lost to Toronto in the
Yep.
in the conference semis or whatever it was, and he went off and everything. He wasn't happy. Now he's having a great year, and I love his talent and everything. You got a guy like James Harden coming in, and I'm sorry. I look back, and I know I'm going off on a tangent here real quick, but I watched Michael Wilbon the other day, and he brought up a great point about Clyde Drexler and Charles Barkley even. They were great players. They wanted trades. They didn't quit. They still played. And I just think Harden going to Philadelphia, to me, could just disrupt Joel Embiid because he's the man there, and he's thriving. Maybe it's just me. Maybe he will help him. I just don't see it. I don't see how those two are going to mesh. Maybe this year, but after this year, I just don't see it.
No, me neither. I'm with you on that. I mean, Embiid averages close to 30 a game.
Yeah.
He takes a lot of shots. He handles the ball a lot. I don't know how Harden's going to play with that or get along with that. Lou, when you think back to those old school players, Barkley and Drexler,
Mm-hmm.
right away, I think of Michael Jordan. And we all saw The Last Dance.
Yeah.
A lot of people they don't like Jordan for what he did with those 10 episodes. And here's the one thing about Jordan, and this is a key part to why he won 6 out of 6 championships. Michael Jordan held his teammates accountable. And people didn't like that. People don't like to be pushed out of their comfort zone.
Mm-hmm.
The players today, okay, here's something about the players today. It's like a friendship camp.
Yeah.
All these guys are friends. They've come up through the AAU ranks, the prep school ranks. They all know each other. They're buddies. They're on social media together, Instagram. And here's the deal. These players are not holding their teammates accountable. And I don't care who hears this. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Okay? You see these guys. Yeah, you see scuffles sometimes, little pushing and shoving. But at the end of the day, they apologize. They help each. I've never seen so many opponents help each other up off the floor in my life. And to me, that's the problem with the Lakers right now. They don't hold each other accountable. LeBron can say anything he wants, but Barkley, Drexler, Isaiah, all those guys, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, they held teammates accountable. They didn't want to team up. They wanted to kick each other's asses, and that's the problem with today. That's why the Lakers are 5 games under 500, because Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Westbrook are not holding each other accountable and not pushing each other.
What do you think of what I read? I watched Stephen A. Smith's video, one of his videos today, where he said that if he were the Lakers at the end of the year, he'd try to shop Anthony Davis to see what they could get.
Me too.
I loved it. I loved it.
Hey, Lou, here's the thing. Anthony Davis plays with, most of the game, plays with zero passion, zero intensity. I'm going to give you 2 things about Saturday's night against the Warriors, the game against Golden State, when they lost by 2 to Golden State. Here's the thing with Anthony Davis. Now, the final score was 117 to 115. Now, I want you to put your math teacher hat on right here. You ready for this?
Yes, go ahead.
Anthony Davis, at the end of the first quarter, is on defense, and Jordan Poole for the Golden State Warriors pulls up from 1 step away from half court, heaves up a shot with 1.4 seconds. Anthony Davis fouled him in the act of shooting. So Jordan Poole goes to the line and makes 3 free throws at the end of the first quarter. Now, Lou, if Anthony Davis just puts his hands up and doesn't foul him, the kid misses the shot.
Yeah.
You take away those 3 points from the final score, and the Lakers win by 1 point.
Wow.
And
Wow.
Lou, here's my second point. Do you remember Stanley Johnson?
Oh, yeah.
He starts for the Los Angeles Lakers. You
My
got to be.
God.
People ask me what's wrong with the Lakers. I've been using those 2
Oh,
points
my
for the last
God.
3 nights.
Yeah.
Stanley freaking Johnson starts for the Lakers, and you want to know why they're so bad?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And, you know, and the thing is, God, I lost my train of thought here.
I
and-
got you rattled. That's why.
Oh, yeah, no kidding. I'm okay. Duke must have hit a last second shot to win 76-74.
Hey, Lou, I'll tell you right now. I'll go on record. I think Duke wins the national championship. Write that down on a
All
post-it
right.
and leave it by your computer.
Okay.
I think Duke, if they stay healthy, knock on wood, and this goes for everyone
Oh,
all
sure.
the time. I think 10 to 11 teams can win the championship. Duke, though, in my eyes, if someone asked me and said, Steve, I'll give you $1,000, give me a winner, I'm going to go with Duke this year. 2 reasons. They play really, really hard. They play old school Duke basketball. I know they got the one superstar, but they got 3 or 4 guys around him that complement him. And I really think Coach K is going to go out on a high horse, and I think they're going to make it worthwhile for him, and he's going to go off into the sunset with another championship.
Well, I got it marked down. I'll put
Mark it down. I'm going with Duke this year.
All right, I'm going to put a pop on that for a futures bet. And if it hits, I'll meet up with you and we'll have a triple mocha.
Hey, Lou, I'm not even a big Duke fan. I'm not like
No.
a big crazy Dookie.
You're
I've watched them 4 times this year, and I just love the way they play.
I got it. I've got it written down right now. Getting back to the Lakers though, real quick. You know,
Yeah.
it's funny is, and we all know how great LeBron is. You know,
Oh,
and
unbelievable. Second best ever. Second
Yes.
best ever.
100% agree. You know, and I just think I just think he's got to drop the GM hat, and I'm not gonna. You know, it's so easy to blame Westbrook on all this, but you hit the nail on the head. You got a guy like Anthony Davis. KCP's not performing. Whatever. It's just they just don't have the talent.
Hey, Lou, I'll tell you right now. I love Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
I really do. The other night he played really well. He had 19 points. He had 7 rebounds, 5 assists. He only took 2 threes, made 1. Here's the thing with them. They just LeBron, Davis, Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, you know, they're out there just playing. They're not really pushing anybody. Anthony Davis, to me, is the biggest underachiever. I don't care if he's top 75 all time. I don't care if he's an all-star. Lou, he took 13 shots the other night, okay? He was a -6 on the night, and he's going against a guy by the name of Kevin Looney. Kevin freaking Looney. You can't dominate him.
How is he top 75?
Hey, Lou, when I saw that list, it's like the top 15 coaches
Yes.
of all time. Lou, when I see these lists, hey, listen, God bless Steve Kerr. God bless Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah.
God bless Doc Rivers. Those guys, in my eyes, do not belong
No.
on that list.
No way.
I can't believe Rudy Tomjanovich was
Yes.
left off that list.
I can't. When you told me that, I couldn't believe it either. That guy.
I mean,
Oh.
Rudy T, and I'll even throw Rick Adelman in there. Rick Adelman did a tremendous job.
Oh,
But Rudy T, come on, man.
if Rick Adelman were coaching right now, he'd have at least 2 titles. I mean,
you know
some
what?
of these teams that he went up against in the 80s and 90s, the Pistons, the Lakers, my God, you know what does the guy
Hey,
got to do?
I know. Hey, Lou, here's the thing about LeBron James. I know he's got a lot of haters out there. I am not one of them. I actually love LeBron James to death because I think he plays the right way.
Yeah.
He's the only player in the history of the game to be in the top 10 all-time scoring and assists.
Man.
No one else is in there. And he just passed Kareem this weekend
Yes.
for most total points in the playoffs and the regular season. Now, you can say, well, he's been playing since he's 18, but longevity and your health playing constantly day in, day out, it has a lot, you know, it's big time. People love that. And my thing is, like, give this guy a lot of credit. But here's the deal. Here's a big difference between him and Michael Jordan, Lou, and you can use this with anyone. The players in the league, they feared Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, players today they don't fear LeBron James. He's just another guy out there, for all they care. But Jordan, that's the one thing he had over LeBron. He had that fear factor, and of course he was undefeated in the finals. And LeBron, I don't know. He's almost like a cartoon character at some point.
Well, I what do you think of the theory where he may try to go and hook up with his son to play 1 year?
And see, that's another thing. All these little things that he talks about, the social media stuff, being at the Super Bowl the other night, the
Yeah.
day after the Warriors game, and his son, he wants to play. I mean, Jordan didn't care about this kind of stuff.
No.
And I get it. The social media is around. And here's the thing about Jordan. The first time he left the Bulls, okay, after the 3 championships, he
Yeah.
went to play baseball. When he came back, he could have went and teamed up with another really great
Yeah.
team and won some more championships, but he went back to his original team.
Mhm.
And I don't know about the contract situation at all, but he went back and played and won 3 more rings with them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking with Steve Finnemore, our NBA and basketball expert here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza. What do you think of the big trade that the Pistons were part of? What do you think of Bagley going to Detroit?
It was great that you texted me that day and you were telling me about the trades because I was in school all day and I didn't really check any of the news. I've heard good and bad things
Yeah.
about Bagley. I have a friend out in Sacramento actually who's always been down on him.
Okay.
I feel really bad for the Pistons right now because you know what, Lou? I thought of this the other night while I was watching the Super Bowl. How many games did the Cincinnati Bengals win the last 2 years before this year?
Not very many.
They won 6.
Yeah.
Now here's my thing to you, Lou. To a man, how can the Cincinnati Bengals turn it around in football and a team like the Detroit Pistons have struggled for so long? And it's just heartbreaking because Pistons fans are awesome. They
Mhm.
got 12 freaking wins.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 12-45. And just when you think they're going to turn the corner, something happens, an injury, someone gets traded. I hope Bagley helps them. I love Cade Cunningham, but he's been hurt now a little bit, so
Yeah.
I feel I'm a little worried about him. And I don't know. I hope he helps them though. I just think the jury's out on that opinion.
And I went and saw him as you did earlier this year live, and I like his game, but I think he's being forced to do too much in his rookie year. In my
Good
opinion.
point.
And
Good point.
he had an off game. Detroit won, but he had an off game. He was like 3 for 16, and I worry about that. I was glad to see they didn't trade Grant. I really
Yes.
like him. I thought
Yep.
for sure. My son and I were texting all day Thursday saying, he's my son's like, Dad, he's going. And I said, I don't know. And then they made that big trade. I don't know. And so, yeah, the jury's out. I got to ask you a former New York Knick got traded again, Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah. I
Oh,
saw
boy.
that.
Oh boy. I really thought he was, and the Knicks, they're kind of spinning their wheels this year a little bit, but he just, when they traded him to Dallas, I thought, boy, Dallas got a steal. Nah, I just don't know.
You know what, Lou? The night of the draft when the Knicks picked him, they showed that little boy crying and they were giving the thumbs down and everything, and people were hating on him, and he came alive a little bit,
Yeah.
but he's so injury prone. He's
Yeah.
so I don't want to call him soft because I know people get offended by that word, but I just don't think he's the type of guy. He goes under that category again about scoring and performance.
Mhm.
I don't know if he's a winner. I watched him bail out on the Mavs, I think a year or two ago,
Yeah.
when Luka was carrying the load against the Clippers, and they made that little run. And I don't know. I just don't think he has it in him to catapult the team to the top, to the next level. I think he's just going to be one of these guys. I mean, he never goes in the low post,
Mhm.
And I saw where someone was mad at Rick Carlisle because he was pushing Porzingis and trying to make him tougher. And, Lou, these international players, they're really skilled, really talented. They develop, they play the right way. But a lot of them just don't have it to catapult the team to the top. You know what I mean?
I'm 100% behind you on that one, and it's being more and more evident. I have to give you another tip of the cap. You
Yes.
told me a team to watch out for this year were the Chicago Bulls.
Oh yes, I remember.
Half a game out of first, them in Miami, duking it. Obviously Cleveland's a great story, but God, the Bulls are back.
I'm worried about Zach LaVine though.
Yeah.
Isn't he injured? Didn't he just get hurt?
Yes, he did.
I'm worried about that because him and DeMar DeRozan have been going so well together. I pray to God that he comes back. I think Billy Donovan has always been an excellent coach, and I think he just knows how to talk to players. He pushes them at the right time, and I just like the way they play. I've watched them a couple of times. It's just so hard to watch these teams all the time because you got the college on,
Yeah.
and you flick back and forth. But yeah, I really like them. I still think Milwaukee is going to be there again. I really like that team when they're healthy. I think Giannis is one of the top 3 players in the league. Hey, how about that? How far has the international game come? Giannis, Jokic, and Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 of the top 5 players in my eyes, Lou, in the NBA.
Wow. And I got to tell you, I got to let you in on something. My son is graduating for college here in May. So an early graduation present. Him and I are going on March 6th to Milwaukee to watch the Bucks and the Suns play.
Nice. Oh, the Suns, 46-10. They're unbelievable.
Yes. So I was able to get 2 tickets, upper deck, first row. We're gonna, that's gonna be our little spring break soiree for him, and I'm really looking forward to watching Giannis in person and and Booker. I hope they both play.
Now listen. Now I don't know if this is a good question to ask you because I believe you're a Pistons fan, right?
I am. Yes.
Okay. Overall body of work. You taking Chris Paul or Isaiah Thomas?
Oh boy, I love Isaiah, I really do, and he did wonders in Detroit. But look what you and I talked about this last year. Chris Paul is doing it again. Wherever he goes.
The average NBA fan can probably not name anyone after Paul and Devin Booker on that Suns team.
No, and he elevates them. It's amazing.
Oh my God.
And he's one of these guys, we talked about this. He should have been in the MVP conversation last year. He doesn't promote himself, which I'm not taking anything away from, Steph Curry or, anybody like that. But, he's not a media guy. He doesn't go out of his way to, to be friendly. He's not unfriendly, but the guy, all he does is win. Everywhere
that's
what
he is. That's what he is. He's a winner. He's been in the league for 15 years now. I just love how he just brings out the best in his teammates. And he's up there in assists. He's been with 4 or 5 teams now. But I tell you what, I love him so much. And I was never a big Chris Paul fan ever since when he's back with the Hornets and the Clippers. The Clippers had the super team. They had the big 3. And that's another thing, getting back to Doc Rivers.
Yeah.
I mean, he had some good teams. He had some good teams with the Clippers, and he could never get over the hump. But anyway, it's just an interesting question, with Chris Paul. And I know it's hard to compare plays. We were talking about this the other day, a friend of mine and I, about different eras, different decades. The game has changed so much with this 3-point shot. The 3-point shot has really changed the game so much, and case in point is Steph Curry.
Yeah. Well, and we just, I guess it's like my son said to me, he said, Dad, you're just going to have to learn to adapt to it. And I said, I am getting an appreciation for it. It frustrates the hell out of me watching Michigan live and die by the 3. And I'm always going to be a little old school, Steve. Let's face it. I watched it the other night with Michigan State. They go inside the kick out. They go inside and they kick out, and I'm like, oh my God! I cringe when I see these big guys could be averaging 25 and 15 underneath, but they bounce it out for the 3, and I'm just like, it's a dog shot. Take the dog shot.
I don't know why teams don't throw the ball back into the post.
Oh,
They throw it in once, and I feel really bad for the big guys. You know,
yeah.
I really do. I really do. Hey Lou, the other day I was looking at some stats. I like to go back and look, you know, in the 80s and the 90s, and in 1990. Okay, 1990. All right, we're looking 32 years ago, but it doesn't sound like too long ago.
Yeah.
The team who led the NBA in 3-point shots attempted in a game were the Cleveland Cavaliers. Guess how many
Oh
threes
my Lord.
per game they took in 1990?
8 maybe?
10. You're close. 10.
Oh my Lord.
Today there's 3 teams that take 39 or more in the game.
Oh, wow. just
It's crazy.
It's a different animal now. And and I don't want to sound, like I'm never going to adapt to it cuz I'm watching it and I like the game and I love the game.
Yep.
Just get him
Yep.
get him on the court and play. I want to it's fun. I want to bring up something that you mentioned a little while ago about teams that hated losing and weren't friendly. It's funny. That game I'm going to go back to Michigan State. Remember in the first half when I don't know who it was from Indiana, somebody from Michigan State tried to help him up and he pushed him away. And
Oh, wow.
my wife was like, "Wow, he shouldn't have done that." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" I said 20, 30 years ago, nobody would have done that. They would have just let him lay there.
You know what the thing that bothers me, and someone brought it to my attention a couple of months ago, or maybe it was last season. Someone brought it to my attention. You know what I don't like, but I understand why they do it. I don't like when players run over to their teammate and help them up off the floor. Lou, what I want to see is I want to see a guy do what Walter Payton used to do when he was tackled.
Yeah.
I want to see a guy jump up off the ground.
Okay.
Because here's the deal. When a heavyweight boxer gets knocked down, no one helps him up. He's
No.
got to get up. He's
No.
got to get up. He's got to persevere. He's got to show his toughness. To me, it's a little piece of the puzzle of how this game has changed, basketball that is, in these times, 2022. And it's been going on for a few years.
Oh, yeah.
I understand. I understand the philosophy and the concept of being a great teammate. But just once, Lou, I want to see a guy push his teammates away and just jump up and get on his 2 feet.
I'm right there with you. Hey, I want to get you back to college real quick before we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw an article on ESPN today, and I was thinking of you. They're talking about Mike Davis's boy playing for U of D. Was he like the leading scorer in college
Antoine
basketball?
Davis, he's up there. He's up there, I think, in the top 5 for sure. And he's been up there all season long. He's some scorer. I saw him play a couple of times. I like him.
Mike Davis is 61 years old. Steve, what the hell? Where's the time gone? It just seems like yesterday he was coaching against Maryland.
I'll tell you what, the thing about Mike Davis, I met Mike Davis twice.
Okay.
And I worked his basketball camp when he was the head coach at Indiana.
Yeah,
I went down there and I got a chance to work his camp. I want to tell you something. Everywhere he's been, he's done a decent job.
Yeah.
And the Indiana fans soured on him because he stepped in and took Bob Knight's place, and people didn't like that.
Uh-huh.
And because he brought him and his son, Bob Knight and his son, they brought Mike Davis in actually.
Okay.
And people didn't like that he, stepped in there and took the job. But most people would have taken that job. And I like what Davis has done. I really do. His players play hard.
Mhm.
You know what? It's like Pete Maravich and Press Maravich. Let your son get all the shots, man, and score all the points.
Well, he is leading the country right now, 23 and a half a game or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I saw that and I'm like, wow, that's kind of a hidden treasure, I guess, here in the state of Michigan, So, wow, this has been fun. We talked about it, as I mentioned. We've got Duke and Gonzaga. I got to ask you something. How can Duke be ranked 9th in the writers' poll and 4th or 5th in the coaches' poll?
I never understood these kind of things. I'm not a big rankings guy, but
Okay.
I know when you start talking hoops, you talk about the rankings.
Yeah.
You know what I did not know? There's only one ACC team in the top 25.
That's
unless they had
Duke?
unless the new poll came out and someone snuck in there.
No.
But if you pull up the top
Yeah, I've
25,
got him right
I,
now.
is there anyone
No.
besides? Yeah, there's nobody else.
Wow.
And that's a little, you scratch your head at that, and you go down the list, and you're like, wow, I know Miami's having a good year. I know North Carolina's having a decent year. I heard someone talking about North Carolina. They don't have one quad one win this year.
Wow.
And so I wonder they'll be on the
Mm-mm-mm.
bubble, last four in maybe. I'm worried for Michigan.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
if
am
Michigan
too.
doesn't have an impressive run here, they may not make the tournament.
They got to beat Michigan State next week or in 2 weeks when they play on that Tuesday night. They got to. You know, I heard somebody say, I think it was Joe Lenardi, if they would have beat Ohio State Saturday, they'd have been his first, his last four in. I don't know, Steve. I think Michigan's in trouble. They're going to have, like you said, I think they're going to have to get a run in the Big Ten tournament. But I think they got to beat Michigan State at home. Although, their stock's dropping a little. But
Hey, Lou, I'm so glad that the Big Ten scheduled this game, the game
yes,
that got postponed, because I had heard rumblings a week or two ago that they may not play it. So
Yeah.
I'm glad. The state deserves it. The
yes.
alumni deserve it. The fans deserve it. There's only a couple of other games around the country that
Yeah.
interest me, like Michigan State, because you and I, we know the history,
Yeah.
and I just think it's great for college basketball that Michigan State will play a second time.
Me too. Me too. And then, I look at, again, some of these other teams that have really done. I didn't see Ohio State doing as well as they did this year. My hat's off to them. And
Yeah, they're playing good ball. They came into Chrysler, right, and beat the Wolverines.
yeah, and Michigan's got to go back down there yet, and it's
Oh,
going to
boy.
be senior night for Ohio State when they go down there. That's why I'm thinking, boy, they better hopefully get one against get one against Michigan State, or else they're in trouble. And then you mentioned Purdue. I think they're going to be. And Illinois, I think is. I don't know. They're playing a little better than I thought they would this year.
Yeah, no, I like Illinois a lot. They play up tempo. They play hard. Brett Underwood's done a tremendous job. He's got those guys playing really hard. When they play at home, boy, it seems like they can't be beat. But their guard play, Kofi Coburn, he's been tough inside. And I like the way Illinois plays. I tell you who I like also. They're playing tonight against Indiana. I really like Wisconsin.
Yes. Oh,
I really like them. They play the right way. They play hard. They share the ball. I love the Brad Davison kid.
yeah.
And I think I'm going to tune into that game. I believe they're in the first half now against Indiana. So, the Big Ten, you just don't know what's going to happen in the Big Ten tournament, because I know Purdue's the favorite, but someone can sneak in there and knock them off.
Last one before I let you go.
Yeah.
Texas Tech. There's another surprise team. They're ranked in the top 12? 19-6. Wow.
Yeah, and they lost their coach to Texas.
Yes.
Chris Beard turned it around
yes.
there, and he had them playing great basketball. And sometimes when a new coach comes in, you don't know which way you're going to go. But I tell you what, that's another conference that's just so tough at times. I mean, you could be scrolling the scores on a Saturday night,
Yeah.
and you can see like Oklahoma State, knocked off Texas. Kansas is always the cream of the crop. Baylor's right there, but that's another conference, man, that I really enjoy watching. On Saturday afternoons.
Steve, we got 1 month to March Madness. Can you believe that?
I can't. You know what? Last night there wasn't a really good game of interest for me in college, so I'm saying to myself, "Gosh, I can't wait for the conference tournaments to begin. I can't wait for the NCAA tournament. I really miss it. I got to be honest. I know I'm going to sound like an old curmudgeon, get off my lawn type guy, but Lou, I really think some of these seasons and some of these sports are too long.
Oh, I agree.
And I was telling my wife the other night while we were watching the Super Bowl, I said, Mary, can you imagine if the NBA had one game championship, winner take all? Like the NCAA tournament. Can you imagine? I know money is a factor. I get all that financial stuff.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like the series? Just have one game. Knicks against the Hawks, first round. One game. Winner advances. Have like a bracket style in the NBA. I think that would be so cool.
You're like back in the day in the 70s, 2 out of 3 first
Remember
round.
the 2 out of 3?
Oh,
Remember
God,
the 2
yeah.
out of 3?
It was either Detroit against Milwaukee when I was growing up or Golden State, and it'd be like getting up the next morning waiting to find out if they could win at least one game against Al Adels and Garfield Hurd. Oh, my God.
Hey, Lou, I'll even take the 3 out of 5 series. I
There
used to
you
like
go.
that one, too.
There you go. Wow, Steve, 45 minutes, man. This has been a lot of fun. Go watch Wisconsin, and I'll catch up with you. I'm going to be in St. Louis covering hockey before the March Madness, but when I get back, I'll have you on a Tuesday in between the first and second round. You up for it?
Hey, Lou, real quick,
Yeah.
definitely. Let me ask you a question. You're a hockey guy. Do you like the fact that the NHL opted out of the Winter Olympics?
No.
You wanted to see those pro guys in there, huh?
I want to see the best, though. I have been watching it, and I do like the fact that the Michigan guys are helping out and that the college guys are working. But I want to see the best players.
Hey, how about Chris Chelios' son playing for China?
Isn't that wild? I know, and they got a Michigan guy as the goalie for China.
It's awesome, man.
It
It's
is.
awesome.
No,
But, hey, yeah, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Hey, USA finally beat Canada, though. First time in like 10 years.
Oh, I know it. I know it. And I was surprised with that, and they're going to meet again in the gold medal game, I think, because I know they both won. USA got a bye. They're playing Slovenia or somebody, but
Yep.
yeah, it's I've been watching that, and my wife and I got addicted to curling, so we've been watching curling.
Oh, you're the best, Captain Lou. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
You bet, Steve. Enjoy the basketball. We'll talk to you in about a month. Thank you.
So long, my friend.
All right, you bet. Steve Finnemore for joining us here on the show. Wow, what a great conversation. All over the map on basketball, but hey, he's got me fired up for it. He always does. And March Madness is going to be a month away. And you're going to have the first and second round. That Thursday and Friday, there's nothing better. That opening weekend. You got all the games coming on. And then even the second round, the Sweet 16 and the Final Eight, the Elite Eight, center stage. College basketball is going to take it. As he mentioned, conference tournaments are going to come up starting first weekend in March. And then you've got the brackets, the whole bit. They're going to take center stage coming up in about 3 or 4 weeks as well. We're going to take one more break. We'll come back. We'll wrap things up tonight. Talk a little NFL, Super Bowl in the books. We've got a lot more to go. You're watching the Captain Lou Extravaganza live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Platform and Networks and the Zingo TV Channel 761.
Ounce Sports has a new home for betting. BetUS.com is the official place to place your bets and support 12-Ounce Sports. All you have to do is go to BetUS.com and type in the promo code 120ZE and you'll instantly get a deposit bonus. This is America's favorite sports book. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Captain Lou Extravaganza Live here on the 12-Ounce Sports Platform and Networks. Zingo TV, channel 761. Again, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, our YouTube channel, and, of course, right on our webpage. That's 12ouncesportsradio.com. Many thanks to Steve Finnemore again for coming on, talking hoops, getting us fired up, getting his perspective on all the trades that went down in the NBA, and, of course, March Madness coming up in about a month. College basketball starting to whip into shape. The Blue Bloods coming up to the top. Some of the other ones trying to find their way. Michigan State losing again to Penn State on the road. Didn't see that one coming. But, you know, I still think they're going to get it together and make a run coming to March. Tom Izzo is just, he's too good of a coach. But like Steve mentioned, something that you just don't see on that team. They don't have any leadership, and it was evident this past weekend. And again, it showed up tonight against Penn State of all teams. So who knows with Michigan State. But again, thanks to Steve Finnemore for coming on. Always great talking hoops with him. Just gets me fired up just because such a wealth of knowledge that he has. And it's always great to hear the stories. You know, some of the coaches and the players that he's met. You know, Mike Davis, as we talked about, the old coach at Indiana, now coaching at University of Detroit Mercy. His son is right now the leading scorer in college basketball right now. So, anyways, great to talk to Steve. We talked at the beginning of the show, Super Bowl. Congratulations to Matt Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams. Some say the best team money can buy. I don't know. They constructed it with free agents, but also some of the drafts that they made, getting Cooper Kupp, people like that, Aaron Donald. Speaking of Aaron Donald, I thought he should have been the MVP. I mentioned it last week. I thought he would be, but he was disruptive, him and Von Miller. But I got to tell you, everybody's been banging on Cincinnati about that running play on 3rd and 1, I believe it was, or 3rd and 2. Samaje Perine getting the ball. I got to tell you, if it weren't for the play that Aaron Donald made on that, they would have got a first down. We might have been talking something totally different here. And, it was a great play. Aaron Donald stood out. I thought he should have got the MVP. I could see why they gave it to Cooper Kupp. It was him and Stafford. It was their drive. I see why he got it. 2 touchdowns. Only had 95 yards, but he was his go-to guy. That's all they had left. And what can you say about Matt Stafford? I questioned at the beginning of the year if he could win the big games. He's proved me wrong. Does he deserve to go in the Hall of Fame? He's put up some great numbers with Detroit. Everybody called him Stat Padford. Well, he went to L.A., came from behind to win against San Francisco, came from behind against Tampa Bay, and he did it again against Cincinnati. And I brought this up in the first hour. Matt Stafford now has as many playoff comeback wins or game-winning drives in the playoffs. He's got more than Aaron Rodgers did in 13. He's done in 13 years. Matt Stafford did it in 1. Now you got to start, and I know people are going to start calling me crazy. I don't care. You got to start comparing the two. Look at their numbers. Look at their stats. They're pretty damn close, other than wins and losses because Matt Stafford played in Detroit for 12 years. But Matt Stafford's got 1 Super Bowl ring. So does Aaron Rodgers. So does Russell Wilson. I'm just saying. And I know it sounds like a Johnny-come-lately, but I'll tell you what, he brought him there. Mission accomplished. So much pressure on the Rams. Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, Aaron Donald. The pressure was on them because they went out. They made the splash. Kroenke made the splash. He told McVay, you want your quarterback, you got him. Now prove it. Now win. And they did. Now there's talk of Aaron Donald retiring. Sean McVay may go to the television booth. How much of this is leverage? Now, I hear some people say they're not going to retire. I don't know. It's a different time. I'm not going to, it's a different time than 20, 30 years ago. Yeah, I know they're going to leave millions upon millions of dollars on the table. You can say what you want. Being a head coach in my opinion, is a lot more difficult than it was 20, 30 years ago. It's a 24/7, 365 job. And, these players, they know more about CTE. The game is stronger, it's quicker, it's faster. Who would I be, anybody, to begrudge Aaron Donald from saying, you know what? I've done it all. I've been an All-Pro 7 years. I've been to Pro Bowl 8 years, whatever. I've got my ring. Aaron Donald is arguably one of the best defensive players of all time. I know people are going to say Dick Butkus and Lawrence Taylor. Okay. But the best defensive lineman of all time, hands down, Aaron Donald. There's no way Warren Sapp even comes close. So I would not begrudge Aaron Donald for walking away from the game. Sean McVay, I know he's only been a head coach for 5 years. But here's the thing that's different now than back then. You've got ESPN or Fox or whoever. They're going to throw $10 to $15 million a year out at this guy. They're willing to do it for somebody like Drew Brees, who absolutely is horrible behind the mic. A guy like Tony Romo, who his act has gone stale. You got a young mind right now in Sean McVay, who's on top. He can dictate it. Maybe he is using it as a renegotiating tool with LA. It's very difficult to quit on top. Ask Dick Vermeil. Just because he might want to take a year off. It's just a different mindset right now. And, I don't begrudge him for quitting. I don't know if they're gonna. But is it a marketing tool? Is it a bargaining tool? It could very well be. I don't know. Some of the other things real quick. We got a couple minutes left. Kyler Murray, his act, I don't know how I feel about it. I think he's got to mature a little bit. And I always hear these people say, well, you know what? You got to deal with it. That's the modern athlete. Maybe it is. He's going to stomp his feet and get what he wants. But he's got to win some playoff games, in my opinion. You can't tell me they didn't have enough talent to win a playoff game. I just think they've got to. He's a regular season quarterback. He's got to go to that next level. Now he sees a guy like Josh Allen getting his money, and he thinks, well, I deserve it. But here's the thing. He's probably going to get it because quarterbacks are getting the loot. They're getting big money. To me, he's no better than, right now, he's no better than Baker Mayfield. Because I don't look at yards. I don't look at touchdowns. I look at wins and losses. And I look at playoff wins and losses. How many has Kyler Murray had? He's Baker Mayfield. Win me a couple playoff games, and then you can pout and demand more money. It's a team game, I get it. But the bottom line is, you got to win before I take you serious. That's why I always hesitated about Matt Stafford. He's won. He's got the ring. He can talk. He can walk the walk now. He's got just as many rings as Aaron Rodgers. And he's a hell of a lot more mature. That's all I'm going to say on that. 60 seconds left before we got to go. MLB lockout, they're both miles apart. One thing to keep in mind, though, about that, they're making a little progress, baby steps. I know pitchers and catchers are supposed to report yesterday. I still think it's going to come down to brass tacks on March 1st when both teams start losing potential income. I was thinking about this today. I think I've mentioned this before. I've been a part of negotiating contracts with my day job. I'm on our negotiating team with our union. And 2 out of the last 3 contract talks, things were ugly. And it seemed like we were miles apart. And then boom, like the last one we had last year, I thought we were so far apart. at, I think it was like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And by 6:30, we had a tentative agreement that passed. It's going to break open. Just when you least expect it, it's going to happen. That's why, as much as I think they're miles apart, and I just, both sides I wish would lock themselves in a room, it's going to, they'll get a deal done, especially now because there's so much money at stake, and neither team wants to lose. They don't want it hitting their pocketbook too much. So I think it's going to come. But I don't even know if the season will be delayed. If it is, maybe delayed 3 weeks. That's my prediction. They'll come to an agreement around St. Patrick's Day. And then they'll start playing around April 20th or maybe May 1st at the latest. So, well, hey, we're up against it. What a great show. We had a lot of fun today. Want to thank Tyler Cataline for coming on, head coach of Central Michigan Division III's ACHA squad, ranked 6th right now in the country. Pretty good setting for going to the Nationals down in St. Louis. Want to thank Bob Brinkworth, Florida Gulf Coast Division II head coach. They've got their ticket punch going to St. Louis. D2 with their regional setup, the way they've got it, they were number 1 in their Southeast region. They've got one of the auto berths. We'll see him down in St. Louis. And, of course, I want to thank Steve Finnemore coming on, talking some hoops. Always a pleasure talking with him. His enthusiasm, his excitement for the game is contagious. Love having him on. It's got me fired up. But I want to thank you, the viewer, for taking time out tonight to watch us. Check us out with all our live shows. Check out our website, 12ouncesportsradio.com. That's going to do it. Hey, this reminder, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Thanks for joining us tonight here on the Captain Lou Extravaganza